Assembly Member Roberts.
Would the Mayor like to answer his question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Last year you made a promise in your manifesto to keep a police front counter open 24/7 in every London borough. Now you're claiming it's an operational decision on the part of the Met. If it's an operational decision, why did you make this promise, knowing it wasn't in your power to deliver it?
Well, look, I mean, when the facts change, I change my mind. And we've got to recognise the reality of the consequences of austerity, but also the fact there is a black hole in terms of what the Met Police would like to do in 25-26 and what they can afford to do in 25-26. But also, look, I could insist with the Commissioner that certain things happen, but when he explains to you the operational consequence of those things happen, I'll give him an example. The savings we made with front counters will lead to, roughly speaking, £7 million being saved, which equates to a certain number of police officers. The choice I have is to say to the Commissioner, look, because I made a promise in a manifesto, I want you to not have those police officers, but keep a police counter open 24 hours a day. And when he presents me with the evidence, well, actually, no one's using these front counters. You're wasting resources, wasting police power. That police power we can use elsewhere. I think I'd be a fool to be dogmatic and not follow the evidence from the police service.
Were you not aware of the financial pressures on the Metropolitan Police when you made that manifesto commitment? You have been mayor for 8 years before that. Yeah, that's the reason why the Police and Crime Plan doesn't have the same commitment in relation to 24-hour counters that the manifesto has. When I printed the manifesto, we've got to look at what we're doing instead of the front counters. So one of the things that I'm well aware of is most Londoners contact the police on phone. I'm also well aware that the response from the police on the phone in the past has been poor. That's why we invest in £2.5 million every year in the Met's Command and Control Centre. The response time has improved, which means that the level of...
The Assembly member confronts a mayor about his manifesto promise to keep a police front counter open 24/7 in every London borough. Now, the mayor claims it's an operational decision by the Met. She asks, if it wasn't in your power to deliver, why make the promise in the first place? The mayor responds that facts and finances change, citing austerity and budget constraints. He argues that insisting on 24/7 counters would waste police resources, and it's better to redirect officers to where they're most needed.
Service, the public receive is improved as well, and the use of front counters is declining. So I made a pragmatic decision to listen to the advice of the police and pivot and switch that funding to police officers and an improved command and control centre. Excuse me.
Thank you. One question which we would all be delighted to get an answer to is that we've asked the Deputy Mayor, we've asked various levels of the police, when exactly were you first made aware of this decision to axe front counters across London?
It was in the Tough Choices presentation the Commissioner did in November, December, during one of the iterations of the budget. So if you remember, there were lots of tough choices the Commissioner set out to fill the £260 million black hole. So there's what the Commissioner wants to do and what he can afford to do in the draft budgets and what tough choices he'd be forced to make. And front counters were one of the options in the tough choices. He'll be aware that we've managed to close that gap in relation to tough choices. For example, our investment meant we saved, I think, 930 officers from the tough choices. So some of the tough choices, as was set up by the Commissioner back in December, didn't materialise, some did.
Best part of a year you've known about this, but the Assembly only found out in July. Londoners only found out in July. The Police and Crime Committee found out in July.
I'm shocked that the Assembly weren't aware about the tough choices document, because we discussed it.
We knew about the tough choices, not the police front counters, Mr Mayor.
Well, it was one of the options in the tough choices.
We weren't given that information.
Well, had the Assembly looked at some of the documentation, and not just the presented by the Commissioner to the Policing Board, but the evidence given to the various iterations of the budgets, the Commissioner himself talked about the tough choices he would have to make. They would have been aware. This is one of the options. The good news is...
Are you not surprised, Mr Mayor, that there was no public outcry from the Assembly members regarding this particular issue, given that apparently we knew all about it in November or December?
There are a number of...
The debate dives deeper. When was the mayor first aware of the closures? He says it was during the tough choices presentations by the Commissioner in November/December. The Assembly member points out that the public and the Police and Crime Committee only found out in July, nearly a year later. The mayor defends the process, highlighting that some counters will remain open during the day, others 24/7, and resources saved are being redirected to officers and an upgraded command center to improve police response.
Options set out in the tough choices documentation from the Commissioner, and this is one of them. We've managed to close the gap in some of the other tough choices and take them away. Some of them we've not been able to take away. The good news with the front counters, though, is we've managed to increase the number of front counters from originally that was planned to close, and make sure some are open for daytime hours, some are open 24 hours a day, and in the work the police are undertaking with the quality impact assessment, there may be further changes as well before they make the decisions later on this year.
Okay, two final questions, if I may. Firstly, could I ask whether you were briefed properly, as on the 28th of July of this year, you claimed to ITV London News that some front counters will stay open 24 hours a day, but some boroughs, frankly speaking, nobody uses the front counters after office hours. They'll stay open during office hours. Now, there's Twickenham Police Station, for example, is not going to stay open during office hours. Were you properly briefed?
Yes, so some front counters are saying open 24 hours. Some front counters will open during part of the day. Some front counters will close. I think the one that he's talking about, from the numbers I have, on average, 2 crimes reported every day. So that's money we could spend on improving the command and control centre. We could spend on police officers, or we could spend having a front counter that's not used.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The Assembly presses on examples like Twickenham Police Station, where counters will not stay open even during office hours. The mayor explains that these counters are rarely used after hours, with maybe 2 crimes reported per day. So keeping them open is inefficient. He insists that funding is better spent on officers and command and control improvements, emphasizing pragmatic approach. Why waste resources on counters that aren't being used?